and welcome to That Girl Speaks. Today is a day in May. It's almost the end of May. It's a Thursday. Oh my gosh. How are you? This is the Fat Squirrel Speaks. I'm the Fat Squirrel. I'm the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. I think that's the things. You can find show notes at thefatsquirrel.com. Also that. Oh my gosh. How are you? Okay, up front, this episode might feel a little bit like I'm trying out new audio video equipment. Okay, video with audio combined. So I have like 3 things I'm looking at once because I'm recording a redundancy. I'm recording what will hopefully be good. And then I have like a mirror behind the other camera, which is actually what's throwing me off, because this camera does not have a screen where I can see myself, and I've gotten very accustomed to that feedback. So I'm going to try to break myself of that feedback, but in the meantime I have this like weird rig where I've got like a mirror behind it so I can like just double check. So if you see my eyes going places, I'll try not to move my head too much, but just be aware I'm not on the drugs. But I am trying to so again, hopefully that will smooth out and you will just see me focused on you in the future. But please allow me a little bit of wiggle room to get this down. I'm hoping that this will give us better video quality, a better image, but we'll see. And we'll go from there. Okay, so now let's do administrative stuff. Shall we? Let's do it. Okay, basics. There will be updates on June 1st. This is for the shop. I know I'm doing shameless promotion first, but come on, it's in my list this way. And I have too much other stuff to contend with. There will be a favorites update on June 1st in the shop. That'll be something new I'm going to do is introduce at the first of every month, not introduce, reintroduce, reacquaint. At the first of every month, I'm going to try to have a limited number of my 2 most popular bags up in the shop for sale. So if you remember, I'll put a picture in here. Do you see? So there's the library card bag, which I do have a sample of handy. Do you remember this one? It has super awesome library cards on it. Okay. So the library cards are anything from Little House on the Prairie to Jane Eyre to Shakespeare to Alice in Wonderland to The Last of the Mohicans. There's even a Maurice Sendak where the wild things are. There's also there's like some choose your own adventure kind of things. So those will go up in the shop. That and the Granny Square bags. Will now be available the first of every month. I'll put a limited number of sewn to order listings up. So what that means is I have the fabric in-house, so I'm not waiting on my printing company to print those fabrics up for us. So I'll have them in-house, but I will sew them to order. So in case nobody wants this and I have this terrible idea, I won't be out my labor. Is basically I have to be, small business. You got to be very aware of all these little pieces that fit together. So those will be available the first of the month in limited quantities, sewn to order. So they'll go out in I would say about a week is what I'm usually anticipating, because I will try to only put up what I can sew in 1 week. So it won't be the traditional pre-order where you're waiting 4 to 6 weeks. 1 week. If you miss the first one, I'm going to do that the first of every month. So July 1st, August 1st, maybe even September 1st. We'll see what demand is and we'll just kind of go from there. But so that's something new I'm going to do. Yay! Also, if you are attending Super Summer Knit Together, which is a retreat hosted by the Knit Girls in Nashville, Tennessee, if you're attending that in July, I will have pre-orders for my tagged bag, up June 9th, and then they'll be up for like a week. So June 9th for a week, I will have that. I apologize, I meant to have a sample ready for you. Unfortunately, the one of the suppliers sent me a really bad color of what I needed. So I had to kind of scramble a little bit. So I don't have a sample for you, but I promise it's super cute. And of course, you'll be able to see a picture of it when you order, so you'll know whether you like it or not. But so that'll be June 9th. So that's all the administrative stuff. Well, that's not the administrative. It's all the shop update stuff. If you're not interested in bags, you know, I probably should sit there for like 3 minutes or something. Ba ba ba. Ba ba ba. Okay. So if you notice, if you're a regular, I'm like a week off my recording. That's because I've been trying to adjust to this new camera situation, and some new software editing stuff, combined with, I will be completely honest with you. Do I want to be completely honest with you? I'm not sure. Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Combined with like some sort of like weird midlife crisis thing I'm having. Like I've just had this like crazy like questioning of like all of the motivations that I didn't think about that I had, and like my brain is just, it's good because my brain is actually grabbing onto some stuff and getting some more traction. But I know that I'm 38, like I'll be 39 at the end of June, so I'm almost 39. And I know that like when I think of midlife crisis, I think of like 45 to 55 kind of age. But whatever. I think that's totally what's going on in my brain. Anyway, I've just been like kind of trying to re-examine like what my motivations are and stuff like that. So it's taken a little bit of time away from actual knitting time. I've had like 3 or 4 days in this past 3 weeks where I have not knit a stitch, which I cannot think when that has happened before. I mean, since I've been doing the podcast anyway. Like that may have actually never happened before since I've been doing the podcast. But I think it's good because I think what has been happening is that, have you heard of this book called Present Over Perfect? I apologize, I can't remember who wrote it. It is very much written from a Christian point of view, and I am not a Christian. And so typically I kind of just don't even like approach something like that. However, and actually also like the whole premise of it is that we become so busy in our lives that we kind of lose track, or you know, this busyness is almost a mechanism to deaden ourselves from our human interactions and like really building fulfilling relationships and building fulfilling relationships with the self. And so I've always felt like, oh, well, those kind of books aren't really for me because I actually specifically craft my life so that it is not busy. Like my child is limited to the number of activities that she can do, which, by the way, has never been an issue because she is my child and is like 1 day away from the house is enough on top of school. So I've always, and we're not like goers at all. I have several days planned in the week where I do not leave the house, usually at least. So anyways, I've always been like, well, those things don't apply to me, like, right? Like, I'm specifically trying to lead this life that is not busy. But what I've become to what I've come to realize is that I am. It's just a different busy. Like, I'm constantly filling, even though I'm not going outside, I'm going inside. And not in always the most productive ways. So I feel like I have been knitting or listening to audiobooks or just trying to constantly busy my mind. And in a way, it kind of like deadens, or at least like creates this like buffer that's filled with stuff. Like it's kind of, it's just like this bubble wrap around your brain. So I'm really trying to work on not doing that, or like at least being aware of it and like sort of moderating how much busyness I'm allowing my brain to do. Or that even sounds more advanced than I really am. But the awareness of it has made me re-examine this need to be productive, and like what that really is in me. Like, what is that need to be productive? And I feel like this probably needs to be heavily edited because this is not a self-help video. But we sit down and we start chatting, and this is just what happens in my brain. Anyway. But like this need to be productive all the time. And again, I put this productive in quotation marks because I have, like 900 shawls that I constantly give away because, and yes, like part of it is just the way my mind works. I do feel more content when I'm doing something when I'm not doing something. Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm watching TV or when I'm, chatting with people or what have you. But it's just made me think about why that's my knee-jerk reaction. And I'm not saying that that's not a good knee-jerk reaction. I've just tried to put a little bit of a break on it, just while I'm trying to think about these things. So I've still gotten a good amount of knitting done, but maybe not as much as normal. So that has kind of put a little a break on the podcasting schedule. But in addition to that, really this headspace, as you can see, has been really taken up by these thoughts. And it is surprising the amount of headspace required to do a podcast. And that sounds really goofy. And I think especially maybe when you're doing a solo podcast, there's nobody else to draw you out into that conversation, that mode of interaction. And so that it's really hard to find that place in your brain to get really focused on this, for example. So that's a lot to say. I'm sorry I was gone for a week. But I am almost done editing my first bread episode. So I'm going to put this podcast out, and then probably in like a day or two, just to kind of give a buffer between them, I'm going to put a bread episode out on YouTube. I don't think I'm going to put these episodes up on iTunes, to save sanity, because it's double uploads take doubly long, and we don't have like slow internet, but our upload speed is not super fast, so it really does take like 4 to 6 hours. Okay, maybe 4 is better. 3 to 4 hours to upload an episode. So, and I know I can go someplace else to upload it, but again, I don't leave the house. So I might do it for YouTube, and then B, the thing about iTunes is that it automatically downloads podcasts, and I don't want you to have to download these like bonusy things if it's something you're not interested in. So I don't want to like take up your bandwidth in your house or whatever. So there will be a bread episode out, and then I think I'm going to do a really short like little napkin tutorial, which will be like 10 minutes at most. Okay, but I'll talk about that more in a minute. But so look for those. Those are going to be coming out. Just so you know, like when I say that I'm going to do a bread video, I plan on doing several of them, for one thing. The second thing, I really struggled with how to approach that, because like there are plenty of that sounds wrong, but like there are great Craftsy classes about how to bake bread. There are PBS series about how to bake bread. There are, I'm sure, a million YouTube videos about how to make bread that are more instructional based. So what I tried to do with this, I hope it works. Just again, so I'm not duplicating that information necessarily, but giving something else to the conversation, is that I tried to make it more casual. In that it's, to me, I think what works best is just pretending you're not pretending, but just kind of approaching it as if you're with me in the kitchen and we're just kind of chatting about what I'm doing and stuff like that. So there is still good information in there. There's good information about why you might want to weigh your flour versus measure your flour. There's good information about gluten content, but it is not presented in in a purely instructional, what do I want to say? When you're in school and there's a teacher and a class, whatever. It's not presented in that more traditional rigid structure. It is much more casual and like, oh, this is what I'm thinking about right now, and oh, this made me think of this. Okay, so that I think is how I'm going to approach it. That's the only way I could wrap my head around it, because to try to do a pure tutorial based thing just seemed redundant, because there's lots of great information out there. I will do several of them. You'll notice this first one is going to be about whole wheat rolls. I did them in the bread machine. I did the dough in the bread machine. Some of you might be like, oh, bread machine. Well, I don't need a tutorial on that because A, I don't have a bread machine, or B, I know how to use a bread machine, or what have you. The reason I did them in the bread machine was A, it was what worked for my life at the moment. I was busy doing other stuff, as we all are. And it's what fit into my time schedule best, which I'm thinking might mean it might fit into your time schedule best. I think making doughs in the bread machine is awesome. It's one of my, I actually don't bake in the bread machine because it just never quite gets what I want, but I use it a lot for the doughs because again, it just gives you that really, it's a controlled environment. You know how much time it's going to need to rise. Like you just, it's there. You don't have to touch it. You just go back, form it, let it rise again, put it in the oven. Do I make bread without a bread machine? Yes, all the time. But I also did it in the bread machine because I did not want to have like a 90-minute episode and just like slam you with information. So this is going to have maybe more information. I showed you my flour grinder. I talked more about forming those little rolls, things like that. So with then also talking about all of the things that go into making a good dough, I think it would have been just a lot of information, which is not really what I wanted in that kind of casual environment. So you might hear something similar to that at the beginning of the bread episode. I haven't really filmed that introductory part, so I apologize if this is redundant if you then do watch that. But I just wanted to give you a heads up about what that bread episode might look like to see if you were even remotely interested in going over to YouTube and downloading it. Speaking of YouTube, hey, could you subscribe to the channel if you're interested? That'd be awesome. Thanks. iTunes reviews are always so appreciated. I haven't hit on that in a long time just because sometimes it feels like self-aggrandizing or like, you know, it's just this weird feeling. But iTunes reviews are awesome. If you've done one, thank you so much. It helps bump us up in the queue so other people can find us. Subscribing on the YouTube channel, liking on the YouTube channel, also super helpful, especially now that there are a lot of YouTube podcasts, knitting podcasts that are solely YouTube, meaning that they are not offered on iTunes. Those of us who are offering on both formats get really bumped. I mean, but it's harder for people to find us because, you know, that viewership is very split. So YouTube puts us way down in the queue. So if you watch another podcast that is broadcast on both iTunes and YouTube, subscribe to their YouTube channel if you don't care. You don't have to turn on notifications or anything. If you want to, you can. Okay. Also, I do usually upload to YouTube first. Just by like 8 hours or something, 6 hours. But, you know, if you really gotta see the squirrel, you might want to do that. Okay, so that's bread episodes. Okay. Oh, bike rides. Those are shenanigans. Bike rides. By the way, it is like 50 degrees. It's almost the end of May. It is very cool and very damp here. But man, it's so nice for bike riding. And our farmer's market seems to be doing pretty good, so. Oh, but so if somebody asked a while ago, I think, maybe on the comments, and I don't know if I readdressed it here or not, but I'm still really enjoying my bike. I have a 630. There is a bike episode that I did last summer that's out there if you're interested in biking, especially if you are a bigger than size 16 human being. That's just a generalization, but you know, I think other people would find it interesting too, but you might especially find it interesting. But I am still really enjoying my bike. It does squeak occasionally, but my husband's bike squeaks too, and he weighs like half what I do. He's like 8 inches taller. Just stop. Okay, Judge, I don't care. It's fine. But we've really been enjoying them. Oh. And then, speaking of the weather and stuff, we're gonna go strawberry picking tomorrow. I hope it's nice. I mean, I don't care about the weather so much. I mean, I would rather not be like soupy mud, but I really hope that there are some berries to pick because I have got a hankering to make some jam. I've been like I'm over commercial produced jams. I'm not saying that they're bad, but there's something in my brain that thinks all jam that comes from not made by me is way too sweet. Which I know it's really ridiculous because if you give me a birthday cake like from the grocery store with like that crunchy butter cream icing, so like not even buttercream, there's no real butter in it. That's a butter means that is a disclaimer that there's no butter in there. And it's like cream spelled like CREME. But dude, I will eat that until I get diabetes. No, not really. But I will tear it up. I will have to I will have to make it go away. I cannot have it around me. It's delicious. But somehow jam, too much. So anyway, so I'm very much looking forward to getting some more lower sugar jams in the house. Because I made that nectarine jam last year. I made like a nectarine ginger jam. Oh, it's so good. So good. I also tried to make a marmalade. Boo. I don't even think I told you about it because it was such a fail. I don't know. I don't really know if I like marmalade. It seems like I would. But it was like nothing. It tasted like nothing. It was like slightly acidic, slightly bitter, really sweet. Yeah. So I'm so excited. So hopefully that'll go well and I'll be able to be telling you all about jam next time. Let's hope. And then let's see what else. So I apologize. Okay, so I let you know that there's some editing software and camera stuff happening. I'm really hoping it'll make things look nicer for you. It's really stressing me out. But once it gets figured out, it'll go smoothly just like before. Okay. So, let's talk about sewing. I do have knitting. It's right here. Should I talk about my knitting first? Here we're going to have a siren. I live right across the street from Firehouse. Well, not right across the street. Like right diagonally across the big street that my street intersects. Is that a thing that I'm even telling you? I don't know. Anyway. Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Okay, it's fast. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about sewing first because it's how I do. I just make you listen to everything you're not interested in, and then I'm like, oh, here's some knitting. It's just what I've got you captive. Just roll with it. Okay, so this is how the sewing started. It was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day. It was cold and windy. No. But for Mother's Day, I was trying to figure out something to make for my mom for Mother's Day. Okay, my mom is a super quilter. She does beautiful quilts. She's been sewing since I was a little kid and before. She would take her sewing machine to school and sew on recess. So I don't know why I think I should, but it's like, sometimes it's like, I feel like I'm just giving her stuff that I've knitted that I don't, I mean, it's not really it. But you have this thing where you feel like if you haven't planned ahead of time that the thing you are knitting is a gift for the person, that you can't give them something as a gift because it's like, I just didn't want this, so here you go. I just feel like that sometimes. So especially for your mom, especially for Mother's Day, you don't want to be like, I just have this laying around. So I was trying to figure out something to make her, and I went through like 30 things no, that's not true, but there were like 4. So at first I was like, oh, I'm going to make her a sewing machine cover. And like, it's not really a sewing machine cover. There's a Craftsy pattern for it, okay? It is like it's like a pad that you can put under your sewing machine, and then like this part comes and the pad comes down, and there's like pockets in it so you can put like your scissors and things. It's like a sewing machine organizer, but you can also take it up and put it over top your sewing machine, and it functions as a dust cover. So there's like that, and ultimately I didn't really, and then like so I didn't really have the fabric that I thought she would like. At first I was like, I'm going to use this fabric because it's different than what she normally likes. And then I was like, no, I can't do that because it's too different and it's going to be in her house too much. Basically, do you remember that thing where I was saying that I'm not busy on the outside, I'm busy on the inside? There you go, right there. That was just a good example of it. Ultimately, I decided this project was what I was going to make. So what I'm going to show you is not the one I made her. I'll put a picture in here. But what I am going to show you is the one I then made for myself. It's got all of my junk in it, so I just wanted to show you though because it's super useful, okay? So this is a Catch-All Caddy, and there is a Craftsy course. Now, originally this was just, not just, but this is also a pattern that you can purchase either at your local fabric or quilting store, or you can purchase online. It's by Annie. .com, I think. Yeah, buyany.com, and it's called a catch-all caddy. So you can buy a pattern. I think it's $10. You can actually buy them on Amazon too. I believe it's like $9.89 or something like that. Or Craftsy has a course that has this and these like little nested like hat boxes essentially they're also fabric. And that course is $19.99. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's always higher than that, but you can get it for $19.99 if you're patient. They put it on sale for that. But look at my thing. Okay, now, I don't know if you know that this is like the fanciest thing ever that I have ever made. It totally... If there was a weird change in audio video quality, it's because I went from one file to another. Because one camera just randomly stopped working. I don't know what's going on. Anyway. Okay, so hold all this stuff inside. What? And then, let me show you what's inside. Okay, so the reason I made one for my mom because she's a crafter, she has, and quilter. She always has all of this, like, you know, you have all these like little bits, right? And so I was hoping it would help her organize her bits. Let me take these out because otherwise I might spill them. Okay, so then this is the inside. It has what are called baffle pockets. I don't know if you can tell, but they are open on the bottom. Okay, so this is not something you can put like little bits in, but they're perfect if, for example, I think she sewed in the Craftsy class of like putting fat quarters in, because the great thing about them is you can, if they're empty, they lay completely flat. Also, I just put my hair clip on here because I always lose those things. They can lay completely flat if you don't have anything in them, so they are not in the way. But if you want to put stuff in them, you can expand them quite a lot, which is not something you could do with a traditional pocket that was sewn on the bottom. So they're great for putting your box of like those red Wonder Clips or whatever, or again, like you saw, I had lots of boxes of things in there. But you can put fat quarters in them if you want to make one for like a diaper bag or something like that. You can put diapers and stuff like that in there. Or you can also see that you can put pins and things in there if you want it for like art supplies. And it's very versatile. And also it's like super duper cute, yo. Right? I don't know. Do you think mine's cute? But I do. Okay, now that's why I made my mom's. My mom watches this show, so mom just... When I say that your bag was a total pain in the neck to make, it's not a reflection on you because you did not ask me to make this bag. I wanted to make the bag. But these bags are such a pain to make. Now, I'm sure they're not as much of a pain to make if you are a more experienced... Now that you'd be like, dude, you sew for a living. Yes, I do sew for a living, but I sew a very specific thing for a living. I don't quilt. I've never made... Okay, I quilted that tree skirt, but like... I have this much experience quilting, and yeah, and like crafty sewing I can pretty much do, but this was crazy because as you can see, it's like very sturdy, right? That's because what's in here is not quilt batting, but the stuff that's called fusible foam. She has her own product which she talks about in the Craftsy class, and you'll see it on her website or whatever. But what I used was Pellon has a fusible foam. They make it, I think they make it that's not fusible. They make it that's fusible on one side, and they make it that's fusible on two sides. Well, I happened to have some that was fusible on one side because I was experimenting with other products for the shop using it. So, so I had some, so I thought, well, you know, that's awesome. I can just... But anyway, it's awesome because not only is it very sturdy, but your quilting looks really fun on it. I don't know, can you see that? But it makes your quilting like really pop out because it's puffier than like a quilt batting, thicker. But there are places where you have 3 layers of it because there's the back layer, the front layer, okay, actually like 4 layers, right? because you have the back and the front here, the back and the front here, and then you have to sew these around, and it is like really difficult. Like I have a Juki TL 2000. I was just looking over there to see what it was. Which is not a commercial machine. It's just it's just straight line. So it doesn't do any other things but straight line. But it has like a normal throat plate that's like that-ish wide. I totally had to get out the like big plate, which I have never even used before, which is like this thing that fits around the sewing machine on this side to give you like a bigger work surface to work on, because I was wrestling this bag trying to sewing it together, and the corners are like insanely difficult to manage. Okay, for me. I know there's people out there who've made this, they're like, dude, cakewalk, not for me. Not for me. So then, like, not only just sew this stinking thing together, then you have to put binding on it. Right? Binding. So then you just sew a stinking binding around it. And I have never been good at binding, and you can tell if you look at my bag. Actually, my mom's, she does her binding differently than I've ever done before. I've only done binding like twice, so. But she has a different technique than I normally use, which I liked, because I often, when I'm sewing it down the way I like learned, I often miss this one side. Like you have to like kind of catch a side when you do one pass, and I often miss catching it. So there's no risk of that on this technique. It doesn't look as tidy probably, but it's like a functional item. It's not like an heirloom quilt, you know? So I was okay with that. So I tried to do the machine binding on mine, but I broke a needle. Like, I don't know why my mom's worked better than mine did, but whatever. So I actually did end up stitching, for the bias binding that goes around the corners, I ended up stitching it. I stitched it on using the machine, but then stitched it around, like tacked it down using just hand stitching it. And really, it didn't take that long. I was thinking it was going to take forever. And I think it would take forever if you did all of this that way. But this is fairly easy to do on the machine. But this I had to end up doing. Also, I will say that when the pattern, she tells you to cut it 2 inches or 2 1/4. Dude, 2 1/2. Just make your life easier. Maybe that's why my mom's I was able to sew it, because I did do hers 2 1/2, and I think I only did this one as 2 1/4. But maybe that's why I was able to do it. Probably. But anyway, all of that said, it's really cute, and I really liked it. So even though it was a total pain in the neck to make my mom's, I made myself one. And to be honest with you, I totally bought fabric to make Tova one. So I think they're very functional, and I really do dig the finished product, but it was a pain. It's like that stupid knitting, that Indian cross stitch thing. It's such a pain in the neck to make. It was like that. Only worse, maybe. Nah, maybe not. Maybe equivalently pain in the necky. What was that? But I had something else to say. But so let's talk about this project in general. Oh, where did I put my notes, people? They did not get caught in my caddy. Oh, there. Good. So, I told you that. So did I tell you that I took the Craftsy course? I did not purchase the pattern. I was actually looking to purchase the pattern, and just because of that saw the Craftsy course, and I'm glad that I took the Craftsy course. Now, I don't know what the actual printed non-Craftsy affiliated pattern looks like, but the pattern that you download with the Craftsy course is definitely an accompaniment to the course. Like, yeah, I mean, unless you're just like creative genius or whatever. But for me, I had to have that course to follow the pattern that was with the course. Now, her pattern that you purchase like as an individual standalone product is probably much more detailed. I don't know that though. But I would imagine it would have to be. I would need it to be. So I don't know. I can't compare the two, but I will like let you know if you buy the Craftsy course, you're going to need to watch it. You can't just like jump right in there unless you're a genius, which yay you. I mean, really, yay you. Good job. That sounded better, but it's really not. Okay. So I talked about the 2 layers. Oh, one thing I did, but I learned lots of techniques on this. Like I learned like these like quilting techniques. I learned like this faux binding technique inside here. There's like a faux binding on your thing. And I learned how to do this handle thing. Like she uses nylon webbing to give it lots of strength, which is genius. I mean, I really liked that. And like this handle, I would have never known how to sew that, but that was in there. So it was really a great course. I really enjoyed it. And again, I did enjoy, really, this is very enjoyable to make up until that stinking point where it's but so one of the things, she has this tool that she uses. It's like, she uses it all the time. But you can also just use a seam ripper. And let me tell you, if you're making this project, A, you need a seam ripper, because you're going to need it. But B, like say this is all of my fabric. Okay, let me just use the bag. This is right here, yo. So you're sewing this thing and it's got like this 4 layers of this crazy foam stuff that you're trying, plus the 4 layers of there are 8 layers of fabric. 1, 2, no, 4. Plus the binding, which is ultimately another 4 layers of fabric. So your machine is like, you're trying to push it. Like this is my mouth is the machine and this is the fabric. And it's like, it doesn't want it. It doesn't it's not like, no, it rebels. So you have the seam ripper, or like her little fancy tool she uses, and you just use it instead of your finger, because you're getting really close to that machine, and you know you've had a grandmother who sewed her finger in a machine, right? I did. Everybody's got an aunt, a grandma, something. But don't put your finger underneath that foot. So you use this thing, and not only is it great to help you push the fabric through there, because it has that sharp point on it, it digs into the fabric just a little bit so that you have, it really does move it in there so you're not hurting your fingers. It helps move it in there, and it helps to compress. Like that foam, if you press down on you're pressing down and forward into the machine, it really helps to compress that, and I think helps the machine. Okay, is that enough? Oh, I did want to mention. Okay. So yeah, I use the Craftsy class. I would recommend it, especially if you're not an advanced sewer. And if you do use the Craftsy class, don't forget that there are some knitting podcasters who have a Craftsy affiliation where they get a little kickback if you go to Craftsy through their link. So I know that the Knit Girls have a Craftsy affiliation, and I know that Paula of Knitting Pipeline does. I'm sure there are lots of others that I'm just not thinking of. But utilize that. Help those podcasters out. Yay, podcasters! So that's that sewing. Okay, so then I was just on a roll, right? But I realized that it's almost time to give out prizes for people who have donated to the podcast. Yay! Because, oh my gosh, it's almost June, people. I feel like I just did the prizes like 2 weeks ago. But apparently it was like 6 episodes ago or something. So I will announce, I'll draw 3 winners from all of the folks who donated to the podcast in the second quarter. So if you donated in April, May, or June, no. January, February, March, April, May, June. Oh, no, wait. Oh, see, I'm not that. I get through the end of June, right? January, February, March, April, May, June. Oh, see, I'm not that off. Which is crazy for a minute while I was doing all this other stuff. Okay, so, rewind. I will actually give these prizes out at the first episode that's in July. Oh, see, I thought I was even more than a month off behind. I'm only 2 months behind. It's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. So I'll give these out. And so 3 people who've donated to the podcast in the second quarter will get a set of napkins. I'm constantly trying to find things to make for you that I think you would like, that are useful. So I don't know. Something weird happened again. Let's hope it's okay. So you'll get a set of 4 napkins, and I have them for you. So you get 2 of this fun, like, faux quilty bit, faux hexies, and then 2 of the fun, I just dropped one, but you get 2 of these. And so I felt so very fancy because I made mitered corners. I've made napkins for us lots of times. Hey, I always seem like I need more. I don't know why. But I made the fancy, okay, so I'm not sure which camera is going to record this, so I'll put it here first. and then I'll put it there second. So normally when I make napkins for us, I just like, iron it, sew it. And so like the corners are kind of like folded and like thick and, But so I decided I should learn some, and also it was just so fun to learn all these new techniques on this other bag that I thought, I'll learn how to do mitered corner. So I did that. So I felt very fancy. So anyway, so 3 of you will get those. The first podcast of July, I will announce those winners. Okay. And I plan on doing just a little tiny tutorial. I thought about putting it in here, but I think that'll just make the episode crazy long instead of just really long. Would you like to talk about knitting? Maybe we should do that. I have a finished object. What? It's true. So these are my Prairie Socks, which is a pattern written by Kay Jones. And she is one of the hosts of the Bakery Bears podcast. And this is yarn by On the Round. It's her signature sock base in the Sweetheart colorway. I really dug this yarn. I really enjoy this. I really enjoy this base. Like, I enjoy the fiber content. It's very similar to like a Targhee base or a Corriedale base that just has that little bit of grab. Not as much as the Corriedale base, because I, to be honest, like, I really like the Targhee, but the Corriedale sometimes can be too grabby, especially if your hands are sweaty. I'm not looking at you, but it's not because I'm trying to be rude. But her yarn in the skein I wasn't in love with, but then she did some like little toe samples and I really dug them. So this is another one of her colorways. I'm going to start these soon. But this yarn is a merino nylon. It's a 80-20 3-ply, 410 yards. This is silver lining tweed, I apologize. But it just is super puffy, and even though it's merino, it doesn't feel as slickery as a lot of the commercial of the standard merino nylon sock yarns. So I really dug it. So yay! And this pattern by Kay is a paid for pattern, and it's just a really basic stitch texture. So you can just put it on. I didn't use her pattern for, no, I did actually, because she does a little bit different. She alternated her slip rows for the heel, which I enjoyed. But you can just slap it onto any sock that you like also. It's just enough. There's something to do every 3rd round, which is kind of that's kind of a good spot. I like every 3rd to 6th. I don't want to do something every round. This is just ribbing or something. But so yeah, those are really fun, I thought. Yay, socks. And then, what else do I have? Oh, I did work some more on my Color Affection. That's a pattern by Vera Valimaki, which was popular when I first started the podcast, I think. So I've made some more progress on that. And I was having like a serious roses and yellows and crush at the moment, so that's what this one's about. My main color is Hazel Knits in the Land of Sweets colorway. And then we bring in Homespun House in the Puddle Jumper colorway. And then you can see we've introduced the gold, which is a Madeline Tosh sock in the Daffodil colorway. So here are the yarns together because I really do love them. Yay, that. So again, that's the Color Affection by Vera Valimaki. I am knitting that on a size I need to get bifocals for my birthday. Oh my gosh, right. Size 3. But I'm a very loose knitter, and my glasses are just falling off my face. Because that's how I roll, people. I'm noticing more and more that I'm having to take my glasses off to look at close stuff. Okay. So I keep so proud of myself that I made show notes for you, for us, for me, and now I just keep losing them, so maybe that's not as effective. Okay, so then the next thing I have to show you is on here somewhere. Okay, so this is my Bentley cardigan. Oh, I forgot to do that first, but that's okay. My Bentley cardigan, which is a pattern by Marie Green, and I am knitting it with Bartlett Yarns. It's Susan B. Anderson's yarn. The woolen spun fingering weight. So it looks very similar to what it looked like the last time I showed you, but I'm on the sleeve. Oh, it smells so good. So I really wish I had gotten a little faster on this, but you know, because really it's been so cool. I could have totally worn this like several times this spring. But I am really pleased with it so far. The pattern is written for a 3/4 sleeve, but I think I am going to do a full sleeve because I don't really have many full sleeve sweaters. I have like 2 of them, I think, and they're both worsted weight, which is very warm. But so yeah, there's that. I don't know if you'll be able to see. We'll do the thing again where I show both of the cameras something. Am I showing the other camera something? Yes, I am. And now I'm going to show you something. Will you focus, other camera? Are you going to be fancy like that? So you see the texture pattern is just on the front panels, and the rest of the pattern is stockinette. Okay. And dude, fingering weight sweater, 56-inch bust. It's a lot of knitting. Okay. We won't mention that my hips are 60 inches. That cake was good, yo. All of it. And that's in my pattern. That's in my bag by Joanna Spring of Knit Spin Farm, who makes awesome drawstring fabric. Drawstring fabric bags. Her bags have drawstrings that are made of fabric, which are my favorite. The other ones are just in my bag, Joe. And so then the last thing I have to show you is a sock in progress. It's an Afterthought heel. You can find that pattern by Laura Linneman on Ravelry. So I have my first one done with no heel in it yet. This yarn is by Fiber Nymph Dye Works. And I apologize, I started this sock about 100 years ago. And I lost the band, but it's like one of her pie colorways. So usually in March she has at least 2 pie colorways for March, for pie, P-I-E or I day, not P-I-I, just P-I, whatever. So there's that. They are not going to match because I would have had such a far way to lose to get back up here. I would have probably had enough yarn because these are not a real long cuff, but it just hurt my heart to lose that yarn. So there's that. Yay! Okay, I think that's everything, you guys. A million years I talk to your faces, perhaps against your will, but you could turn off the thing if you wanted to. So please feel free to do that. I'll talk next time.